I have never lived in Austria. My name is Rebecca Hunt, Ms. Hunt, but I have been to Bulgaria, and Mr. Joy, where are you? There is no schnitzel in Bulgaria either, so sorry about that. I want to talk to you guys today about failure. Failure is a very important concept and something that you are going to encounter. If you have not already in some aspect of your life, you will. And I need you to know that failure is something we do. It is not something that we are. And that's a pretty big distinction. It's a distinction that was very costly for me to learn. And I will not go into details of that, but I will at least tell you some things and hopefully pass on some wisdom to you. There are degrees of failure in our lives. We all fail in aspects that can be as light as whoops, or, oh, I didn't really mean to do that, to a friend or to a teacher or to someone passing, to something a little more serious where you say, wow, that was a mistake. You know, you forget to set an alarm or you realize you didn't do your homework on time, to something more injurious to a person where you say, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I really didn't. And then there's the degrees where we say, wow, I'm in trouble. I've procrastinated to a certain point, and at this point, maybe you miss a college application deadline, or you repeat an offense to someone to a point where there actually causes a division in the relationship. And then you respond, please, forgive me. It's not such a light thing anymore. And then there's the times which if you haven't experienced, may God be merciful to you when you do, because all of us will, and all of us adults probably certainly have, or you get to a point where you say, God, help me, because the failure just seems too big to know how to reverse or fix. And I'm so grateful that He is merciful to us in those moments. So these aspects of failure that you are going to encounter, they happen in all aspects of your life, in your character, in your scholarship, and in your faith. There's things we do scholastically that we fail as we learn, and then there's things that are moral failure that deeply impact our faith and our ability to converse and respond to God. As a visual arts teacher, with the aspect of failure, one of the most common statements that I hear from people is, how can you fail at art? And I think this is a very entertaining question usually. And the question that I want to ask back is, if one cannot fail at art, how can one succeed? What literally separates a good painting or a beautiful masterpiece from a common doodle or illustration if there is not qualities in which one could succeed or fail at? It is difficult teaching a discipline that so many in the culture believe is soft or is primarily based on opinion. Either you like it or you don't. And I am so, so grateful to be at a place like Lumiere where the support of the fine arts is strong, and it's called a worthy discipline. And you all get to grace my classroom as freshmen, and for those of you who are seniors, I am sad that I will not get to meet you. I'm also very grateful for the legacy that Mrs. Weigel has established in this place and has left to me, and is something that she and I continue to share together and talk about. She and I both firmly believe that art has standards of quality and that there are underlying elements and principles which do distinguish between pieces. There are levels that students can achieve, and there are expectations for the classroom. Skills are learnable in artistic disciplines. Failure, in one sense of the word, is part of learning. A child who is learning to ride a bike or learning to tie their shoes may fail at the first attempt, but they do not need to apologize for either falling to the sidewalk or slipping with a basic knot. Sometimes the child is frustrated, usually the child is frustrated, but they do not typically consider themselves a failure for not being able to. Although a child who has received very little encouragement in their life might. And it's very rare, but I do occasionally, when I teach young children, have children between the ages of 5 and 9, that when they cannot draw a particular building or the side of an animal, there is a deep and very painful exhibition of this sense of inability and failure and very deep frustration in comparison to the rest of the children in the classroom. And so I do my best to encourage and reestablish truths in that child's life. For the most part, though, children are beautifully resilient And if you have younger brothers and sisters or nieces and nephews, or you do community service with some of the local elementary schools, you might exhibit this, or you might witness this. Resiliency for children makes them brave and willing to try really difficult things, whether it's making a secret fort in the bramble of the forest, like my brother and I used to do, or it's building a tower of Legos that's taller than the kitchen table, and then your mom comes out and trips on, or something happens to it. For the most part, if things don't go well the first time, they will pick it up, they will try again, they will keep working to achieve a success of some kind. And then something happens, because as we grow older, failure usually becomes harder to accept. Perhaps it's because consequences are simply greater, but I also wonder, and a good friend of mine shared with me, we had a conversation about this a couple days ago, that perhaps it's because it's something we learn, that failure, and even the word failure, just causes us to tense up and think, not me, I don't want to fail. I think it's something that we learn about shame. Now, godly repentance and the shame that may be associated with that is a very good thing. And it's a very merciful thing that he allows us to go through, because it brings us back to him. But I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about a self-inflicting shame that is not inherently a part of failure, that we give to it, we bring to it. I think shame and self-loathing occur the most when we're afraid of disappointing someone, or perhaps if we did small mistakes when we were younger or even now, and other people around us were greatly disappointed. It's a very skewed view, and to some of us that happens, and when it does, may you receive the mercy of the Lord and know that you're not a failure just because you failed at something. Our parents fail us, your teachers fail you. All throughout your life, you're going to encounter times where someone does not meet an expectation that you had. My own students fail me at times, but there are different kinds of failure, and I want to make sure you understand this. I'm usually very quick to correct the work of my students, the physical drawing work, especially in foundations, which many of you know, because correction is absolutely essential when you're learning how to draw for the first time. The work that we do now eases it up so that I can teach at a different level, and I won't need to correct as often when I have some of you as seniors getting ready to go to art school. But regardless of how many times I correct and how much red pencil gets put upon your drawing, you need to know that when you or any other student fails to get the orthogonal lines converging on a perspective drawing, you are not disappointing me. Even if you fail at it 10 times in a row, it is not a disappointment to me. I will work with you, I'll do what we can, and I want you to continue to ask and to come for assistance so that you can learn the skills. However, and this is a different kind of failure, if you repeatedly failed to turn in your homework, or you continue to come to class tardy, or you continue to be disrespectful during class, I may be disappointed, but I still do not condemn you and consider you a failure. You might be failing in a particular behavior, and as Mr. Kennedy has already shared with us, we don't apologize, we correct the behavior. And I may contact your advisor and your parents, not because I want to tell you out and to get you in trouble, but because I do care about your performance. And for whatever reason, the discipline I'm giving you in class is not seeking in. It's not going through, and so I use other people as a support in that way. Disappointment is not always a bad thing, because the Lord himself disciplines us and is not happy with us and gets angry with us. But discipline is something he gives because he is loving and he is merciful. And your teachers give to you and your parents give to you. Discipline is basically someone who loves you, who's giving the necessary consequences and circumstances so that you can grow from the mistake. And granted, that is ideal, and your teachers aren't perfect and your parents aren't perfect. Thank goodness that the Lord is. Disappointment in self is something I used to be very familiar with. When I went to art school 6 years ago, in the first 3 weeks, I was absolutely frustrated and absolutely tense and unable to continue flourishing in my work. And a landlord that I was staying with, who is an artist, finally said to me, "You did not come here for accolades. You did not come here so that people could tell you how good you are. Otherwise, why would you need to be here? And I thought, that is the biggest relief. That is fantastic news. Okay, so I don't know a lot of stuff. And that's why I went to a school to learn it across the country, away from my family. It was a wonderful change for me. Something that I continue to learn on more personal levels is learning how to fail well then. Failing well is something that I hope you learn to do in your time here, in the year here, in classes with me. It's when you recognize, wait, that wasn't what I wanted, or you're right, I really should be doing this thing and turning these things in. And you accept it, and you change the behavior, and you move ahead. It's something that I will certainly learn as a first-year teacher. There are mistakes I may make with you that I probably won't make in 5 years, because I've learned. So I hope that you continue building forts, and I hope that you make great towers, and I hope that you're very gentle with yourself in whatever aspects that you do fail. And I hope that you are also gentle with those around you and offer forgiveness as you receive. And I hope that's true for some of you. I hope that really sinks in for you. So may you be blessed this year. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'd be happy to get to know you further if I don't have you for any of my current classes. And I look forward to next year's students coming as well. So thank you.